Bob Haug. I live in the same neighborhood, 3517 Oakland Street. My comment is that while I understand your desire to get a broad community input, when you have a population that the majority of whom likely never sees a deer in their yard, to draw conclusions from that kind of general survey seems to me not to be the best way to get good information. You have a city forester on staff. Have you inquired as to what the impact of the increasing deer population is on the city forests, the parks? Also, I noted in the minutes of the last meeting that somebody had suggested contacting experts from Iowa State University. That might be a good thing to do. Clearly, there have been studies across the United States about urban deer populations. Why aren't we getting that information? That's better information on which to base your decision than a general survey of the population. Find out what the experts say about how many deer a park can support. How many do you know? I think you're going after the wrong information, but that's just my opinion. Thanks.
Yeah, just in response to that. So city forester is part of our department, and she will be involved with this. I just failed to mention that. So she will be included in this.
Anybody else? Commissioner comments?
Keith, I know our approach has to be measured and based on science and fact, but I've heard these folks now for 2 meetings running. I know what they're up against. I can't imagine waiting until we complete some kind of a survey this winter to do something. I don't know what we should be doing. I'm not an animal ecologist, but the comment about doodling while Rome burns is cutting, but it's probably appropriate, Max. Thanks. I don't know. Is there a stopgap measure? Can we at least make an effort to do something in the short term while we figure out the long-term plan? I'm asking a difficult question, I know.
Yeah. And with that, Jeff, not prepared to, this evening, to say, hey, this is what we should do. Because it's not just us. Whatever we decide to do, police department needs to be on board with it. I mentioned last time, there's question about whether or not how effective it is. It may reduce a few deer. Again, even if you look at what Max was saying, 25 deer in his yard. We took 10 throughout the whole city last year. So is that the most effective way? If we do that, we might get another 2 deer. That's not going to solve the problem for these individuals. So right now, can I propose something in the short term? Not prepared to do that. Now, if commission wanted to do something before the September meeting and wanted us to come back with something and do a special meeting, could we do that? But our next meeting is prior to when even the legal hunting season starts, which is September 20th. So even if we meet, I think it's the 18th. Is that our next meeting? September 18th. Yeah. So even if commission takes action on the 18th, it's right prior to the start. Now you make a recommendation to council. Council would make a final decision, and we could take that at the following meeting, the 23rd. So even if we do this, we're not missing out on a lot of days. All right. So even if we come back in September and council takes action on the 23rd, don't know what they'll do. If they take action on the 23rd, we're missing maybe a a half dozen days of the hunting season. So I think I understand and I get the urgency, but we still have some time, because, if again, commission says, yes, let's do this, council says, yes, let's do this, we can make the change and get the information out to hunters in very short order.
To your point about wondering why you can't hire somebody on your own to do that, go hunt or whatever, or use your own bow and arrow. I'm one that I hike Munn Woods. I take my grandkids in Munn Woods. I mean, what do you do about that? Do I have to start wearing orange? I mean, are you going to allow people to hunt on our parks, that aren't on our list? So that's a slippery slope there,
Yeah, and as you can see in what I mentioned earlier, the ones that are on that list, that generally are not the areas where we have a lot of hikers.
Right.
We don't
But
have
this
a
is
lot of
Munn
people.
Woods, which is not on
It's
the
very-
list.
And,
at all.
and I think some of you mentioned at the last meeting that there is a concern
Mhm.
about safety
Right.
and
It's for me.
with it.
Right.
I don't know if you close public forum or not.
I mean, our parks get used by lots of families and people out in the fall, and you have people out bow hunting. I mean, that's not a good fit,
Yeah.
So that's my concern.
Yeah, and I think we mentioned, and Joshua, you had some conversation, but when this was originally done, I think Munn Woods was on the table for a potential location, and at that time, the neighbors said no, for the safety,
I
aspect.
mean, there's lovely paths in there. I mean, as you all know, there's great paths. There's the park down there. There's the bridge that goes across. I mean, that's a well-used park.
Max, did you have additional comments?
Well, I certainly understand, Janet, your concerns, and I agree. The last time this came up, we had a dog, and my wife walked in Munn Woods with the dog, and she was concerned about it. We weren't one of the complainers,
Right.
but let's look at it a little bit differently. Somebody could hunt from my deck, which faces Munn Woods, and on any winter day in November, like you're talking about, that would be the season. If they were good, they could probably kill 20 deer. A group of hunters could kill 20 deer in a matter of seconds, which would affect no one in Munn Woods because they would have to come up over the creek and into my property. The city has a responsibility for safety, absolutely, but it closes things all the time. Try to get from my house, from here to my house. All the roads are closed. I accept that. Close the park for 2 days. I'm sure you and your grandkids can walk some other days. So there's lots of solutions. And while Keith, I understand you can work out the dates that it would take to make a decision, I again urge the council to think about allowing hunting on other community property, close the properties for 1 or 2 or 3 days, see the effectiveness of bow hunting. At least then you're making an effort for the good citizens that are basically losing money constantly by the overrun population that the city hasn't taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we discussed this last time as well, but in terms of how parks are, like what areas of parks are deemed appropriate, safe for hunting, and kind of what those considerations are, is that something that you're still looking into in terms of if we were to say, yes, bow hunting in this area of Munn Woods, how is that determined as like this far from properties and this far from, what have you? And is there any, any specific qualifications for a certain period of during this closure, you can do these things and what,
Yeah.
I'm curious what that looks like.
And Joshua, you can chime in after done, but most of the areas that we have right now are not high traffic areas, if any traffic whatsoever. Parts of Homewood, there's nobody is walking in those areas. They're walking on the golf course, but those aren't the areas where hunting is allowed.
Mhm.
If you look at, down by Hunziker Youth Sport Complex, it's along the river, it's along, further to the south, and in those areas, and we don't allow it when there's activities going on at there. You go in early, you can hunt till whatever the time is, 7:30, 8 o'clock. But then once those activities are done at the end of October, first part of November, then it's more open. You can hunt out there all day long. So those are, I think it's really, when you look at that list, it's areas that we don't have, trails. There aren't trails through those areas. And I don't know, anything to add to that, Joshua? It's just not a lot of traffic.
Well, in all those areas, there's no residents around. There's no homes. So this is obviously a different area. The police department would have to weigh in. I know they do have some standards. We'll have to check and see exactly what those standards are. I know there's a certain distance they like to have between properties, but those are things that we can figure out.
And if a decision was made to expand hunting in, additional areas in the city, what have you, that would fall under the same policy of the bow hunting. Certain times would be set and such. Would it include, I think the question of, would it include hiring someone to come in and do like a larger hunt? That would have to be a separate provision or something, right? That wouldn't be necessarily covered. Okay, under
That'd be a separate deal.
okay, under what we have. Okay, I was just curious.
Keith, I appreciate your comments, and I'm right there with you, because I think you heard me last time that my property sits on the edge over there. And I'll be honest with you, with all the homes that are going into the west of me, it's going to get worse, because that's where they used to live. And I've seen in my backyard coming up the creek, there's 20, 30 acre housing lots over by my place. I sit on over an acre, and there's deer everywhere. And it's just going to keep getting pushed in to the city. I personally would like for us to really aggressively go after to find somebody to, one, take care of the quote, what we're saying is a nuisance, but then also look at the neighborhood. Because I was hearing names when we were talking about on the park hunting. And if I remember right, the folks in Munwood area were vastly against it. And they took that off the board pretty quickly. So, and I think, like, I wish one of our former commissioners was here, because she was one of the biggest voices. Because she lives right there. But that was one of the things I think we kind of need to look at this as twofold. One is a nuisance to kind of call what we got going on now, because once you start shooting them up there, they're going to come to my place, and then you want to shoot them in my backyard, where I probably have more open area than some of you all might. But it's still kind of one of those things where it's a twofold. So I do think we need to talk to the neighbor, because this might be 10 people out of 100 in the neighborhood that might go, they're killing everything we have, and they love my flowers, and my indigo bush is their favorite popcorn every day. But we got to do something bigger that's going to fix the problem, because our city is getting built up on all of the rangeland that these animals are on, and they're pushing them further and further in. I mean, we lost 300 acres just to the west of me out there on the County Line Road. Luckily, we bought a park that might solve a little bit of it, but when you got a house right next to the park, you might not get anything. On the other end of town and south of town, we're losing hundreds and hundreds of acres for development. It's going to get worse. Or we're going to push our problem. Maybe we keep pushing them further to the east and they end up in Nevada, but that's even getting built up out there. So deer have nowhere to go. We got to look at this twofold, and we can't just rush into it, but we can look at a nuisance. Because I sure wouldn't want to see somebody with a bow get clocked because it bounced off a rock, and that is lethal as hell. I mean, I hunt in Marshall County for a reason, because there's nothing out there. And when I see guys in deer stands, they scare the hell out of me when I'm pheasant hunting. So my suggestion, I don't know if we need to put this into a motion, is to ask you all to maybe ramp it up on finding other people to take care of the nuisance on the snipers, for lack of a better word. And unfortunately, yeah, they're probably going to kill some young ones unless they wait down the road. But then maybe you can direct them not to kill the young ones and leave those for the hunters down the road. I don't know. What would you prefer, Keith? Because I know if we give you a direction, you guys kind of have to.
Yeah, and I guess right now, based on all this information, and like I mentioned earlier, bring this back on the 18th with some recommendations to you based on everything that we're hearing tonight. So we'll bring something back, and all of this information, what we're hearing from the individuals in the audience, what we're hearing from commissioners, we'll wrap that all into this. And like we said before, commission has to be prepared, because right now you're hearing from people that the deer are a nuisance, but you're also going to hear from people that are going to say, hey, we don't want this. And they could be their neighbors. They could be one block away that say, no, we don't want this. So just to be prepared. Will it happen? I don't know. But we have had other situations like this over the years where a group comes forward, and then all of a sudden we make a recommendation, and then a lot of people come out against it. Look at the Miracle Park. It's a great amenity to the park, and it's not the same thing. But we had people for it, but there were a lot of people against it.
The agility course.
Yeah.
That was one that all I'm hearing is great things about it. And we had 50, 60 right there at the first 2 blocks saying no.
Yeah. So it's just a balancing that out. And I'm not saying that impacts what we'll bring back, but it's just, you have to be prepared as a commission to sort through that.
And Janet, I agree. There are going to be people not happy if you see a fawn getting clocked.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the fact of life. Because they do just grow up to wreck our cars. But they are fun. They're cute. The babies running around, I'd like to hear from the greater neighborhood. But I do think there is a nuisance that we need to take care of. And I'm right there with you. I got a picture right now. I can show you 10 or 15 in my backyard.
I think your question was definitely within the action we put forward from the last meeting.
Yeah.
So I think we have an obligation with immediacy in mind, but we really need data-driven decision-making with all the stakeholders involved.
Mhm.
So
So you think we're okay with what we did last time to get you guys
Yep.
kind of
Yep,
broad?
we'll
I
bring-
know you're asking the police to ask for more people
Yep.
that might be
We'll
able to do
bring.
this.
Yep. We'll bring it back on the 18th.
anything else on this? Okay, we're going to move forward. Next is park policies update.
So this is one, and really with this, we are working on it as well, and we'll continue to put together this information. Our hope is that we could bring this in September also. So we just and that's really all I wanted to mention. I will say that we will bring things forward that say this should be a park rule. There should be an ordinance. And again, park rule it's a rule, people follow it, but there's no enforcement. An ordinance has some type of infraction associated with it, fine or something along those lines. So even if we bring a park rule forward to you, you may want to say, or you may say, hey, maybe this should be better served as an ordinance. Or we bring an ordinance forward and say, how are we going to enforce that? And maybe it should be a park rule. So those are some things that we're working through yet, but we'll bring that to you in September also.
Keith, did the police enforce the ordinances? Or can
Yes.
you guys enforce an ordinance?
No.
No,
Yeah.
police,
Okay.
police, and even with a park rule. So if there's a park rule, for example, no tobacco, no vaping, it's a park rule. It's not an ordinance. There are some areas, the parks, which is a state law, spectator areas and so on. But if we see somebody smoking, I'll say, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's no smoking in the parks. Most of the time they put it out. Other times they swear at me and walk away and keep puffing and say, hey, you need to put that out. It's not allowed. If they still don't listen, I may call the police and say, hey, we've got somebody that is now, not listening to what we have told them, not following the rule. And then they can come in and they could issue a citation at that time. So it's just a longer way to get to that citation than if it's an ordinance. So, but most of the time, people you tell them and they listen. So we might have to put it down 3 hours for the September meeting because we'll have the CIP information as well, which is what we'll talk about.
Rally the forces.
Thank
Yeah.
you for the update. We'll keep moving forward.
Bring your-
Capital improvement plan.
Will you order pizza? Or-
Yeah. So with the CIP and in your packet, we have already, the finance department has given us information, and I'm not going to go through all of this information, but basically we get the information, we start the process, and this is not just start in August and end in January type of thing. We have had conversations year round on my board in my office. When people say, "Oh, hey, have you thought about this idea?" I write it up there. And we'll bring all that information to you. But on September 10th at 6 o'clock out at Homewood, we are having our annual, and I should say CIP capital improvement plan for those of the listening at home. So we'll have that meeting, and what we will do is we take input. Some of you have come to that meeting before. We sometimes have 4 people there. We've had as many as 25 to that. So we will get that public input, and we have the first Thursday of every month, we have a staff meeting with all of our full-time staff. In September, we'll be sitting down with them, getting information. Hey, what do you think we need to address in addition to what we may already have discussed? We'll get that information. We'll bring all of that to you. We will be bringing something to you for Ontario Park. There's nothing in the CIP right now in the current 5-year plan. And again, I would remind you that when City Council adopts that 5-year CIP, what they're doing is they're allocating funding for year 1. And then years 2 through 5, they are agreeing or kind of approving that in concept. And then usually year 2 goes to year 1, year 3 goes to year 2, and so on. Now with it, like I said, with Ontario Park, we're getting an RFP finalized. We'll get that out. We will just spoke with the city manager today, starting to schedule some public input sessions to get feedback on that. And with that, we aren't going to be able to do everything that the community wants all at once. We will be able to get started. And just as a reminder, part of the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant that we received, we do need to have the park open by sometime in September of 2026. So we're hoping that we get the conceptual plan. Maybe we do a parking lot, maybe a shelter, maybe a restroom, maybe a path, maybe a bridge, and then mow some paths, type of thing. We might get all that. We might get some of that. But the goal is to try to open that up. Now, we do have the option to ask the DNR for an extension, which we could potentially delay the opening for another year. But that's some of the things that we're going to be bringing to you when we bring all these ideas, and then eventually some type of a plan for you to take a look at. And there's going to be things that we already know that we have people that want us to put a fence up in Roosevelt Park, along the property line between the condos and the park. We have people that don't want us to put a fence up. So we're going to get, people on both sides. We've got an individual that wants us to put up, have a lighted trail, somewhere. And so all of these things, these ideas will come through, but there also will be, again, we'll have criteria, and we didn't bring it along tonight, but we can share that with you too, is, what is going to service, the most number of people? Are there shared funding opportunities, with this? Maintaining service levels, that's a huge thing as well. So some of those things, they drive what we will bring forward to you. And sometimes things take priorities. A couple years ago, 3 years ago, we left years 2 through 5 as years 2 through 5, and we threw $1 million in year 1 that we didn't even have in the plan anywhere because things came up that we needed to address. That sometimes happens. But then, we'll go through in December, the commission does meet with the city manager, and I go through the capital improvement plan. He usually has a better idea of potential funding. What are we looking at with local option sales tax dollars? That's what funds a lot of this. We did submit 2 grants for REAP, one for $200,000 for the bridge across Iowa Creek to connect the 2 sections of Moore Memorial Park. We did submit a $200,000 grant to add a bridge to Ontario Park. We don't even have a plan yet, but we're saying, hey, this is critical for us to open up that north and that south, connect that section, right away. So hopefully by the time we bring information to you towards, October, we should have an idea of whether or not we've been granted those funds or not. But eventually we take this to city council in January. We give them, our plan, they'll ask questions, they have a public input, and then in February they will adopt, the capital improvement plan. So that's kind of the process. And you can see, and I hope the commission, and I know you do, you understand that with a lot of everything that we do, we only have so much staff time, and when some of these things come forward, we address it. We need to address it, but then something else has to give. And on top of it, we're still, we're nearing closer to, with the aquatic center, and that. That takes up a lot of Courtney, Joshua, and my time. It's very rare that one of the 3 of us isn't meeting or going to the site or having conversations with someone every day. And sometimes it's all 3 of us. So there's a lot of things that are going on, and I just want to say we try to, and we have always tried to address everything that comes forward. Sometimes things just get delayed a little bit because we can only do so much. And I just want to share that because, it's important because, Courtney and Joshua don't need to be working, 15 hours a day. They have families and they need to go home. I know, Dwayne, you say, well, why not? So I try to do some of that and let those guys go home and spend time with their families. But I just want to make sure that everybody understands that is something that we face. So any questions about the timeline? And I guess even right now, if there are some things that you have seen or think that need to be addressed, now would be a good time so we can start, having conversation and start getting, because some of these things, somebody said, well, why don't we do this? Then it's Joshua, Courtney, and I, or we're calling a consultant and saying, hey, if we were to do this, what would it take if we did it in year 1? year 2, year 5, what would that cost be? So because we want to get accurate numbers rather than just pulling a number out of the air. So if there are things that you have seen, now would be a great time to share some of that with us.
Can you say the time for the input meeting again and where the location is?
Yeah. So Wednesday, September 10th, 6 p.m. at Homewood Golf Course Clubhouse. And when we do get started at 6, and generally at the beginning of the meeting, I will go through and just share real briefly what the current is in the current CIP. And then I will go through ideas that we've already heard, ideas that staff have, usually spend some time talking about these are immediate concerns and we're going to have to plug it in and something may need to get delayed. And then we open it up for, input, from the public. And we try to get that public input, to be the most of the meeting. And excuse me. And again, some of you have been there for those meetings in the past. So anything that you can think of, any grand idea, any maintenance
Public
issue.
input meeting.
What was that?
So we'll bring it to the public input meeting.
Yeah, and remember too, with if commissioners, you're more than welcome to attend any of the meetings. You just really got to be careful. If there are 4 of you there, you cannot deliberate. You cannot start having conversation with it, because then we'll be in violation of open meetings laws. So a lot of times it's good for you to listen. I know Dwayne does a lot of time. Jeff has been there. Others of you have been there, and it's just good to hear and what they have to say. And we try to bring everything that people say, back to you. Sometimes we forget maybe an important comment or something. That's where you can play, oh, I remember that so-and-so said this. I think it's important that we share, that comment. And some of the people, we tell them too, is that, all right, we're getting this public input. We will have conversation with the commission September 18th. The October 15th maybe is what I forget what that meeting date is, but we will have conversation for the next 2 meetings about this. And then at the end of November or in November, we have to have all of our stuff on. Say, all right, this is what we are proposing. So
I've learned a lot from the public input, especially for the mini pitch.
yeah,
There was tons of people. It was fun to watch Keith writing about this big on the whiteboard trying to get information. And the good thing is Keith doesn't recognize us as a commissioner. So you can kind of sit there and listen to people and hear the side discussions, which are just as important. So it's very valuable.
no ideas.
No grand ideas, but I'll come up with a lot of small ones.
Yeah. And with this, I would say too, if you do see something, you do hear, and Nathan, you have mentioned this multiple times, that part of the role of the commission, get out there, talk to your neighbors, talk to your coworkers. If you're hearing things, shoot me an email. Hey, I had these conversations. Some of you do that already. We greatly appreciate that. Get us that information, encourage them to come to the meeting. And anybody watching from home, send me an email, keith.abraham@cityofames.org. If you have something that you want to share, shoot me an email. And all those emails, they come to commission. You guys see all those. When we have phone calls, you see all those. We jot all that information down. So we welcome input.
Love it. Okay, let's move forward. If anybody's been around town, they've seen all the projects going on. A lot of projects going on. So let's get some project updates.
Yeah, so with Fitch Family Indoor Aquatic Center, I was thinking about this the other day. In June, we did take the tour. As we get maybe a little bit further, maybe we do a special meeting where we do another tour, because I tell you, it looks completely different. There are walls up everywhere. There's ductwork in the ceilings. They're finishing up the walls on the lap pool. They're starting to dig for the rec pool. There'll be decking going in here soon, so other trades can get into the pool and start doing what they need to be doing. Drywall is going to be going up soon. It's just it's taking on a very different look with it. So if that's something that the commission would be interested in,
Yes.
let me know, and we can
Yes.
find a time
Yes,
to go through it again, and we can share that with city council also, to maybe do something. So.
I think that's an
Yeah.
overwhelming yes.
Yes.
All right. So yeah, and the pretty much the whole parking lot is poured. The only open areas are where the permeable pavers are going to go. Those will be done towards the end. They're working on sidewalks. If you been by there, yeah, just a lot of neat things. And even one little side note is, we don't have fiber at Furman Aquatic Center, and that causes us issues because we get our internet through MediaCom. So what we're doing is we're actually working with ICN, the Iowa Cable Network, I think is what it stands for, with ICN. So we're going to tap into from Furman to the ICN line, and then the ICN line is going to come into Fitch, and Fitch will be part of our integrated traffic system, which will get us to the network at City Hall. So in a roundabout way, we're going to be able to get fiber at the Furman Aquatic Center, and that will increase our service greatly, because there are times where it goes down and we lose revenue. There's times we cannot take daily admissions. We cannot take can't sell concessions because we can't take things. Can't take the credit cards. We just recently, Homewood was the same thing, was on MediaCom. We just recently, we have one little component to do, but they are now on, it's on cable or on fiber. So that greatly, Nate was out there, he'd get on to a city app and would take the whole system down and things. So there's so just a side note with Fitch, with that, but things are going really well. We'll find a date. Do you have maybe we'll look at October or November to do something with that. Anything amiss with that, Joshua? Any highlights?
Nope.
And I will say, and again, there's been a concern for commission, for council, for staff, with the contamination that's on that site. We have done most of all of our digging. We have some basins on the west side for bioretention. We have the rec pool, which is the shallowest basin of all, and groundwater and soil. We have not come across any contamination yet. So that's been a great thing, and it was a real concern, still is a concern. We put a lot of things in place, vapor barriers and so on, but I think that is something to celebrate, that good thing with that. So Stephen Schenker Plaza, several city staff, met with several staff from Henkel, last week, talked about some options for the ice ribbon, and very good conversation. And I think we are getting closer, and they will, I think by the end of next week, there to give us a response that we can go through. So hopefully we're nearing a resolution. Now that will still need to go to council. Council will have to approve, and staff will make a recommendation. But but we're getting closer. There were the splash or the spray pad features, some of those issues, that needed to get corrected. We have told them to go ahead. They made some recommendations. We said, yes, go ahead, get them corrected. So they need to do that. Last week they did do all the planting. Joshua had a meeting on Wednesday, just to make sure that everything was done. So that's moving forward. So I think there is some light at the end of the tunnel. We'll just keep you abreast of that. So if we can come a resolution to the ice ribbon and council approves of it, we could open the ice ribbon this winter. And there's still the caveat that it needs to make ice, needs to make good ice, all those types of things. But we're getting closer. Josh, we can talk about Ada Hayden.
Yeah. So Caliber Concrete started starting their work at Ada Hayden for the path replacement project. Spoke with them today. They actually brought in an asphalt mill yesterday, and milled the entire path in one day. So it's just all gravel right now. Starting later next week, they've got a bulldozer coming in to start leveling the base, and shortly after Labor Day, they're going to start seeing concrete being poured. So that project's moving right along. Hopefully, we continue to have hopefully we get some dry weather stretch here and get that knocked out really quick. So they have until, I believe, the end of October to get that completed. Their 10 weeks started on August 11th.
Yeah, and one thing for anybody listening at home, we did have some issues right away where we put traffic sign up, trails closed. Caliber put trail closed signs, and yet people were still walking on the trail. So we've been trying to hit it hard with our newsletters, and we'll continue. More information will go out today. Hopefully, the fact that it's all milled, people will stay out of there, but please, it's a construction zone. You need to stay out. We don't want anybody to get hurt. So your cooperation, and if the contractors don't have to keep chasing people out, they can focus on the work, and that's what we want them to do. So, and there are many other trails within the city park system that people can go to, and in the short term. We understand it's an inconvenience. The Upland Trail at Ada Hayden is still open, but we really just want to make sure that people stay off those trails. Talk about the Daly Park splash pad.
Yeah, so council awarded a contract to TK Concrete. They're out of Pella, Iowa, and they're going to start construction on the Daly Park splash pad in early September. We had a pre-construction meeting, very positive meeting. Excited to get that project going. The goal is to have a lot of the embeds, which would be the bases for the equipment or the water equipment, to be in place with concrete around them by the time the snow flies. So minor landscape, or not minor, but landscaping and some other, just putting the components in would happen next spring, so we can move forward really quickly with that next spring. So the plan is to be completed with that project June 1st of next year. So we're excited about that. So like I said, we haven't had great luck on weather, but I'm feeling it's going to be great this fall. So get a lot of that stuff done. So
Then park maintenance.
yeah, parks maintenance facilities. King Knutson Construction out of Iowa Falls is going to be constructing the new cold storage maintenance facility. They're going to be doing the renovation of the parks maintenance building as well, and then also relocating the bulk water storage, or the bulk water facility down on East 13th Street, where our current parks maintenance shop is now. The plan is they're going to start moving in construction trailers at the end of next week. Erosion control going in the week after, and then they're going to hit the ground running by doing some grading and starting putting the building up first, the cold storage maintenance facility building first, and then once that gets pretty much done, then they'll move inside. during that time, they're going to be doing the bulk water station as well. So there's going to be a short, if people listening online or people are watching, people watching, the bulk water storage facility will be down for a period of time, hopefully around 3 weeks or less. So just take note of that. We'll be sending out information in our newsletter, posting things on Facebook, just so to alert the public for that.
Yeah, the other thing with it too is, for the time being, we used to have free mulch, down there. We have our tree debris pile down there. That is all going to be moving. We have a short-term location. We have a long-term location. But during this period, there will be no free mulch available to residents. So just want to get that word out to people as well. So again, a little bit of an inconvenience, but it's just a lot of moving pieces, kind of like what we mentioned earlier.
Yep.
Any questions about any of those projects?
A lot going on.
Yeah. Yep. I think one thing that we'll mention too, maybe now is the time. Thanks for everybody that was out there for the mini pitch. That went really well. And with that project, still every time I go by there, there's a lot of people that are out there playing and using it, and things. So, and then I'll just mention also that in September 13th, it's a Saturday, from 10 to noon, we will be celebrating Brookside Park 100th birthday. So 10 to noon. We will have various city departments will be out there doing some things. We will have the mayor as a speaker. President Winterstein from Iowa State is going to be there, speaking. We're going to try to focus on partnership that the city and the university, that positive partnership that we've experienced, for many, many years. And then some also partnership with the Friends of Brookside Park. With the noon Kiwanis, we'll be doing a ribbon cutting for the playground, and some other things. So we'll just it'll be a good day. Hopefully you can make it. I know some of you are not going to be able to be there, but we'll have a number of different speakers and just different activities. We're wanting ice cream. Others are wanting cupcakes. I don't know if we can go wrong with either one, but we will have some kind of treat there for everybody to come out and enjoy.
Did you say that was 10 to noon?
10 to noon.
Okay.
With the program at 11. So I know that Nathan and Dwayne are both going to be gone, that day. So we can start pulling straws, for one of the five of you to speak. So if you really want to, just let me know. So
Let's move on to monthly report.
Yeah, just want to let the public know that we still mosquito spraying and fogging throughout the system. Typically this time of year, I get a report from the Iowa State University in regards to a report of West Nile virus. So that is, I'm reporting I'm hearing from around Central Iowa from Iowa State that is very prevalent this year. They're having a lot more active cases than they have in the past. So just want people to, obviously go out and enjoy the park system, but obviously take the precautions in regards to, if possible, wear long sleeves, wear, bug mosquito spray, those types of things, just to prevent those type of things. We want people to be safe. Just kind of wanted to echo what Keith said. We're excited for the Brookside Park 100th anniversary. If people have been in Brookside Park in the last couple of days, we've done started some work on the north side there where we're going to be installing a new playground. So there's going to be a lot of things going on there. There's going to be some concrete replacing the sidewalk. So staff we're busy. We're hitting the ground hard every day. So.
Yeah, I'll just mention on the recreation side, we've pretty much wound down with all the summer programming, but now we're hitting the fall programming. At soccer coaches meetings last night, we had some skills assessments last week for our leagues. We're going to be starting up fall softball, fall sand volleyball, just a number of different, things that we got going on. We did start the fall season of Miracle League. We have 71 participants, and that just continues to grow. We kind of thought that this would it would take a little while. I think those first couple seasons, we maybe had 20, 25, 28. Now we're up to 71. So going from trying to go 2 teams to 4 teams to maybe 6 teams, and some of that stuff really helps. And if you have a group out there, a sport group, a church group, a civic organization, and you want to do something really meaningful with your group, serve as a buddy. Have your group come out and serve as buddies, for a Saturday morning. Very, very rewarding. And if you're interested in that, contact Courtney, our recreation superintendent. You can give her a call, 515-239-5357, and do that. So did have the duck derby that went well on the 2nd. Sold 444 ducks. We did have 2 sponsors, the Mucky Duck and as a Mighty Duck sponsor, and then First National Bank continued as a community sponsor. But overall, just over $3,500 was raised for the scholarship fund. So kudos to Courtney and her staff and everybody with everything. Last thing I will say is with Furman Aquatic Center. Again, Courtney mentioned this last year that we were doing really well with being able to keep all the amenities open. This is the last week that we are open, fully from 1 to 8, during the week. We may have to close a slide, here or there. But right now, Courtney is really thinking that we'll be able to maybe finish out the season without having to close a basin. But that may be a possibility. But it has been a great year. And again, thanks to Leanne, to Courtney, and everybody else that's been involved with the aquatic side, and all of our lifeguards and our staff. They do a great job, and it's been a good summer. Any questions?
No questions. I will open this up now for commissioner member comments on anything we haven't discussed. Hearing none. Our next meeting, September 18th, 2025 at 4 p.m., regular meeting right here. And we have a public input session for the CIP September 10th, 6 p.m. at Homewood Golf Course. I'll take a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
So
My
moved.
second.
Good meeting.